Everybody, welcome to an episode of Whoop and Company, the talk show made by Average Joe with sports content. This is your shooting worldwide, and we're gonna start tonight's episode. It's gonna be a quick little episode. We're gonna grade each Power Five conferences 2021 season on a grade scale A through F. So tonight we're gonna do the SEC, the so-called best conference in college football. Congratulations to Georgia winning their first national championship in over 40 years. Congratulations to them. I'm a Gator fan. Congratulations, gotta give respect. Respect's due. Kirby Smart finally got Nick Saban's number after failing to do so every four more attempt. So before we get to that game, we're going to talk about the 16 bowl games before we get into the 2021 season as a whole. Let's go to the 16 bowl games that SEC team participated in. And as a whole, out of the 16 games the SEC participated in, we was, as a conference, 5-11. 5-11. The 5 wins, Georgia won 2 of them. They beat Alabama in the national championship game, and they beat Michigan in the Orange Bowl. Bama beat Cincinnati in the Cotton Bowl. Kentucky beat Iowa in the Citrus Bowl, and Arkansas beat Penn State in the Outback Bowl. Florida lost to UCF. Houston beat Auburn. Army beat Missouri. Tennessee choked against Purdue. South Carolina. South Carolina. So we were 6-11. Sorry, 6-11. South Carolina beat North Carolina. I do apologize. So forgot to put Gamecocks on there. So we were 6-11 as a conference. South Carolina beat North Carolina in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Let's see. We got Ole Miss losing to Baylor in the Sugar Bowl. But even though Matt Corral got hurt in that game, Baylor had the better defense. The offense led by Lane Kiffin. So all in all, solid bowl season. A lot of stuff happened because of COVID. Georgia and Alabama was a class in the field this year in the SEC for the last couple of years, and they didn't disappoint the championship game. And when it came down to it, finally got out coached. Great game plan by Coach Smart. If he could win this game against Alabama, I don't think he's the guy for the job. But he proved all the critics wrong, including myself, because I was against him for this national championship game. I thought Nick Saban really take this game serious because Georgia played as a better team in the playoffs so far. How they ran through Michigan like that, and they didn't disappoint. All of Bryce Young's turnovers, most of his turnovers, came against Georgia. I believe he had one, not most of them. He had 2 picks in that championship game, but they didn't over 300 yards. So they slowed down Robinson, who had like 70 or 22 carries. But Bama was too one-dimensional. They couldn't run the football. And when they forced Bama to be one-dimensional, the Georgia Bulldog defense attacked where it hurt the most. The pick 6 sealed the deal, and Georgia won their first championship since the Herschel Walker era. So, congratulations to Georgia. Let's go ahead and go over each SEC's team 2021. Now, my sources are sports.com. We can either agree or disagree with 24/7 grade for each school. Disagree, we'll give our grade of that school. And we're going to start with the worst school in the SEC. It is the Vanderbilts, who finished the season 2-10 under first-year head coach Clark Lee. And 24/7 Sports and Commodores a D. I agree with that. The Commodores, under new head coach, luckily to get 2 wins, period. The fact that they got wins this year showed to me that they have a pulse. They show that they're trying to move things in the right direction. Here's what 24/7 Sports said about the Commodores. Was passed a molecular physics in the course test with a weak study was next to impossible this season. Head coach Clark Lee had to try to do with a roster not yet up to SEC standards. Vanderbilt will get there though. So 24/7 Sports praises that Clark Lee could really turn around this very tough program who hasn't won more than 8 games since I believe the Jordan Rogers era. If you don't know who Jordan Rogers is, that's the younger brother of Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. A little tidbit of trivia, but that was the last 8-win season. That was actually James Franklin's last season at Vanderbilt before he went to Penn State. So James Franklin did a great job turning Vanderbilt to a relevant school during his time there. They just had to pick up the pieces after Franklin left. Derek Mason did the best he could do. Fortunately, he wasn't the guy for the job. And now we're with Clark Lee. Hopefully, he can turn around in year number 2. Next, about a team that was up and down at the stock market, the Mississippi State Bulldogs had a pretty solid season. Finishing 7-5. They did not win their bowl game, unfortunately. But here's what 24/7 Sports had to say about the Bulldogs. Giving Mississippi State a egregious slate and taking into account the number of quality wins, first with my nation year number 2 with the Bulldogs. Will Rogers lost to the SEC top quarterbacks, and Mississippi State, which is what you want to see out of a program in transition. Which I agree. Mississippi State did. They got a huge win against Kentucky this year, which was, I didn't expect that to happen at all. And let alone a coach who came from the Pac-12 with an air raid type offense. He has back-to-back seasons. He got to the Bulldogs to back-to-back bowl games. He didn't win it this year, but the fact that the Bulldogs are in bowl games, they're competing, they're not like Vanderbilt just let everybody run over them, but they show people that Mississippi State football is a threat. Happy on the same level as Ole Miss, Alabama in the West, but the fact that they're competing and showing people that they're relevant. They had a couple of huge wins this year. They beat Texas A&M this year. They beat Kentucky this year. So they did an amazing job. I have to really give Mississippi. I would actually disagree. I would give them a B plus for the fact they had a tough schedule. Bama, they had to play this, they had to play that. But the fact that you still got 2 top 25 wins out of all that, you have to be pretty impressed with the Bulldogs' perseverance in that air raid offense. Give them a B plus for this season. Very tough schedule, but still finish out with 7 wins and 2 top 25 victories. You can't complain that you got the job done. Next team that I feel like took a step back this year was the Missouri Tigers. Missouri Tigers finished the season 6-7, losing their bowl games to the Army Black Knights. Here's what 24/7 Sports had to say about the Tigers. Missouri failed to take advantage of a very soft SEC schedule. Never found the strength up front on defense to compete at the level the Tigers are capable of this fall. So pretty much what it said, they had a really easy schedule. Thank you for those who just tuned in. So Missouri had a very easy schedule. They didn't take advantage of it. As a Gator fan, we is the only reason they became more eligible because of their bullying, talking trash before the game. Other than that, Missouri, outside the Florida win, Connor Bazelak wasn't really a good quarterback, okay quarterback. He did enough just to be relevant. 6 wins is still okay for Eli Dirkowitz. In his second year taking over, a step back compared to the 8 wins they had last year. I really think that Missouri will get back on the high horse. They got to get so quick because Oklahoma and Texas will be in town next couple of years. So they got to figure out what's the identity moving forward next year. So I will actually disagree again. I will give them a C minus just for the fact they lost to Army. Now, I'm not saying nothing for Army, but you're an SEC power team. Why are you losing to a team that runs the triple option? Why are you losing to a team that maybe throws football 5 times a game? No way should have happened. That's how bad Missouri defense was. That's another team that's just back again this year was another team called the Tigers. It was the Auburn Tigers. Bo Nix and the Auburn Tigers once again were progress again this year. This early on the beginning of the year, they showed promise. Uh, Auburn was a quarter away, actually half a quarter away from knocking Alabama out of the playoff. They showed good signs. Penn State. So Bo Nix had a pretty solid year. He didn't turn the football over as much. He was 24/7 sport to say about the Tigers. Brian Harsin's first on the players falls to a D average. If the Tigers lose, well, of course the Tigers did lose to Houston. So the average it is. They will finish with a losing record in his first year. This Auburn wants to be, especially a team that was 6-2 and nationally ranked at one point in a horrible November. So if you don't remember, Auburn was a very solid team around Halloween time. They were 62 and it was ranked in the top 15. That last month of the season, lost 5 consecutive games, including a hard to Auburn, Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Then they wrapped up another loss in the Birmingham Bowl against a tough Houston defense. Season with 12-2 record, while Auburn goes into all season with a 6-7 record. Not a good start. Brian Harsin in his tenure in the plays, but it makes it worse. Bo Nix will transfer. Bo Nix will hit the transfer portal and he announced that he will transfer to the University of Oregon. Bo Nix will finish his final season in UG Oregon. Hopefully, he can turn his career around and hopefully prospect after next season. Another team that went 6-6. Another team that went 6-6 in the SEC was a very upbeat South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina came with new head coach Shane Beamer, the son of the former great Frank Beamer, the longtime Virginia Tech head coach. He left Virginia Tech to go to take the job in South Carolina. Was he fired this past season? In his first year, they went 6-6. They had a tough year, but the second half of the year, they played great football. They knocked off the Gators at home in a huge fashion, and they picked up a bold victory against cross-state rival, against border rival North Carolina. So Coach Beamer goes into his season with a 76 record and very, very high hopes going to 2022. Here's what Twitter said about the Gamecocks. Given the roster challenges and being forced to play with third-string quarterbacks, the second half of the campaign, first-year Gamecocks head coach Shane Beamer deserves a lot of credit for getting Team Vegas projected with 3 wins to 6 wins in year 1. 7 wins now because North Carolina bowl game. So playing with a third-string quarterback the second half of the year, he still finished with 7 wins after he was projected was impressive. And Shane Beamer deserved all the credit he did his first year, despite all the odds were stacked against him in his first year. Let's talk about the Cinderella team, one of the 2 Cinderella teams in the SEC, one of them coming from the West, and that's the Arkansas Razorbacks under Coach Sam Pittman, his 3rd year at the helm, 2nd year at the helm. Last year, Felipe Franks resurrected the program, and now Kane Jefferson took his chances to keep the program afloat, and he did just that. Arkansas got as high as ranked number 8 in the AP poll before getting by Georgia, but hanging around the top 25 all season, finishing with an 8-4 record, well, 9-4 record after knocking off Penn State in the Outback. KJ Jefferson, like he's the quarterback of the future for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He's very athletic. He's very poor with football, and he does it for us. Here's what 24/7 Sports said about the Hogs. Arkansas gets an A final grade if the Razorbacks beat Penn State, which they not agreed to determine 8. For 9-4 season, after all they've been through, they still got 9 wins and still ranked. I agree with that. But regardless of what happens during the postseason, Sam did a heck of a job this fall with the nation's toughest slate and they had a tough schedule. Kenny Jefferson developed into an SEC top quarterback and made a Razorback surprise. Most was by getting the 8 wins with a shot at 9. I did not I did not give South Carolina their grade or Auburn's. So Auburn losing to Houston, they will fall to a C minus. And with South Carolina playing with a third string quarterback the second half of the year and still finish 7 wins, I would do 24/7 Sports grade a C, and I'll give the Gamecocks a B minus for the fact they went with a third string quarterback the second half of the year and balled out the way they did, including getting 7 wins. You can't go wrong with that. So, and with the Razorbacks knocking out Penn State in the Outback Bowl, I will give the Razorbacks an A minus. I will increase their grade from a B plus to an A minus because in fact they had the toughest schedule in college football. Got a couple of good top 25 wins, including a huge win in the Outback Bowl to gain confidence for not only Coach Pittman going into the offseason. So I will give the Razorbacks an A minus for finishing 9-40 in the on the season. Great job, guys. And another Cinderella team is Coach Mark Stoops and the Kentucky Wildcats. Finishing the regular season 9-3 on the verge of getting a 10-win season. Iowa in the Citrus Bowl. This is their second time in 4 years in the Citrus Bowl when they won it last time they played in the Citrus Bowl with Terry Wett. This time they played with Will Levis, the transfer quarterback. Here was 24/7 Sports said about the Wildcats of Kentucky. Once again, another season throwing outside expectations. Anyone a bang. As Kentucky finished with 3 consecutive wins, heading to the Citrus Bowl against Iowa. And this cut through midway the season after falling a 6-0 start. Credit Mark Stoops' team for picking themselves off the turf with a prime opportunity to ace the final. Agree with the A-minus ranking. I believe that they did beat Iowa in that bowl game. So I'll give them an A. I'll give an A for the fact that they started 6-0. They lost 3 in a row. And now they finished on a 4-game win streak. 3 ain't bad for a team that at the beginning of the year wasn't projected to even get 10 wins. I thought it would be like 7 or 8. But 10 wins, including knocking off your rival Florida, you can't go wrong with that. A disappointing team, the LSU Tigers. They was in the middle of the pack all year long. They finished regular season 6-6 and got thrashed by Kansas in a rivalry game with the Texas Bowl game. In the Texas Bowl, losing 52-20. Here's the 24/7 Sport IU Bengals. For a team with sizable expectations in the preseason 2020, expected disappointment. Another whole campaign was too much to endure for Ed Orgeron. Brian Carey here's a program that isn't far away from his 2019 unrivaled success. Elite talent at several key positions to get there. So LSU has some talent, but it missed a couple of pieces. Hopefully, Brian Kelly is the answer to help them turn their team around. With that blowout loss to Kansas State, I have to drop them from a C plus to C minus to a D plus. I believe that's yes, LSU lost its identity after the Alabama game, but there's no way in the world I thought LSU would get mayhem like this. I mean, they're away with LSU, and it showed on the field. So I would drop LSU grade from a C minus to a D plus. Next thing we'll talk about the Florida Gators. I could do a whole video talking about how disappointing this team was. Coming off a season where we have probably the greatest offense we've had in school history. Losing 3 key players on the offense. Kyle Trask gone. Kyle Pitts becoming the first 1,000-yard tight end since Mike Ditka. He's gone. Kadarius Toney gone. Trayvon Grimes, he's gone. So we have nobody. We have nobody. I'm sorry about that. I'm just recovering from COVID. I was videos about the last week or two. Recovered from COVID, so just bear with me if I sneeze or stuff like that. Still recovering. Uh, Florida coming this year. Emory Jones at the helm. A lot of expectations for. He's a preseason Heisman Trophy candidate. He's a great with his arm. He's a great dual threat, but can he put it all together in the season? Threw for 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 picks. They ran for 800 more. So not bad. If you look at those stats, those wasn't bad numbers. But if you look at the game's way more different than his stats portray out to be. He was benched a couple of times in favor for freshman Anthony Richardson, who in my opinion is a home run healthy. Anthony Richardson could be a Heisman Trophy candidate. If he could stay healthy and put it all together, I think he could be a Heisman Trophy candidate. He can too. He just wants to see on his full offense. So I wish him the best where he's transferring to. We got a couple of other transfers besides Emory Jones. Mohamed Diabate, he's transferring from Florida to go to Utah next season. So we'll see him in opener against the Utes next year. Jacob Copeland transferred to Maryland. And I think it's Bogle, the defensive tackle, transferred to Michigan State. So a couple of key players from our offense and defense all transferred. Emory Jones is the only one have that to transfer to. But when we play UCF in that bowl game, why in the world they're transferring? I don't understand it. I'm still stuck in the fact that you're transferring. You want to be part of it, you want to go out there and play. I never understand. If I told my football coach I'm transferring to another school, think either A, I would want to play that game, or B, my coach wouldn't let me play that game. So there's another problem. Florida had no coach. They got rid of Dan Mullen in the away game, and they had to go with the interim head coach. So he probably can't say what the man was going to say, but it was very disappointing watching the Gators play down this year. Our biggest high was our possession away from beat Alabama in the swamp. Then the Kentucky game was just a fiasco there. Could have been against Tennessee. Let's see, what else? I believe also that Florida could put it all together for a couple of games. A couple of games. At the LSU game, we could easily been an 8-win season team, but we didn't put it together. And 6 and 7 where we belong. Here with 24/7 Sports had to stop the Gators. And it's hard to believe this is the same Florida team that lost a 2-point heartbreaker in the SEC champion. Only lose 5 of his last 7 games. This season made a campaign of inconsistency, leading to Dan Mullen's termination. Also soon, Florida will take a step back after winning the SEC East. After losing the top 3 playmakers on offense. But few envision a fall from grace quite like this. You said it. If I had graded a Gator season this year, I wouldn't give him a C-, bro. That's being too. I would give Florida, and I hate to say this, you know, but mad at Gator fans, a D+. Because there's no way Florida, any Florida team should also know UCF. There's no way it should happen. And I really believe that Florida has a lot of work to do. Billy Napier will name as the head coach this past month. He brought in 2 of his former staff members. He had Arizona State and Louisiana. My hope, for the love of God, I hope things change quickly. I hope there's circus. If not, they will be looking for another head coach for years. So I believe Napier is a young guy. He means well. Hopefully, he can change this season around and get all these divas out of our locker room because we got nothing but divas. We got nobody that really want to play for Florida. We got too many people that want to worry about, that and want to make money. That's not wrong with making money, but you come to the University of Florida to win championships, and Florida hasn't had a championship team in quite some time. So, maybe it brings the blue collar mentality back to the Swamp. Got a couple more teams to do. Texas A&M. Let's go ahead. Texas A&M finished 8-4. Here's what 24/7 Sports had to say about the Aggies. A&M also took a step back from the 2021 team that nearly get to the college football playoff. However, the bright spot was a big one for the Aggies and Jamar Fisher, who became the first former Nick Saban assistant to take down the 7-time national champion in October. Thanks to an elite signing class, next season could be a tipping point for Jimbo Fisher and a program that's been on the verge for 7 years now. They finished 8-4, but their bowl game was canceled due to COVID because they were projected to take on the Wake Forest. They pulled out of the COVID issues, and Wake Forest eventually played Rutgers to win their bowl game. So I will agree with the B grade. I will agree with the team grade. A&M is right there, but they're missing a couple of pieces. I think Jimbo will turn around next year. See, a very surprising Tennessee team, 7-5 from Malik Hooker and the Tennessee Vols. Josh Heupel has really turned around and finished with 7-6, despite the loss of the Music City Bowl against Purdue. Here's 24/7 Sports said about the Vols. Raise your hand if you expect Tennessee to be ahead of schedule as rebuilt after Josh Heupel's first season. The former UCF head coach was questioned by many after his hiring, but with playmaking quarterback Hooker and a team that responded his philosophy, the Volunteers surprised most of 2021 and optimism in Knoxville again headed to the 2022 program is on the rise. I will agree with a BT grade. I would have given a B plus and then a B Purdue, but they choked. And Purdue hung around. They finally got opportunity, and they kicked the game with a field goal overtime to beat the Vols. Is in a very hostile environment. Technically a game for the Volunteers, but Purdue hung around. They hung around. Couldn't knock them out. So big kudos to Purdue on the 10 wins, I believe, and still a pretty solid season for the Volunteers. Ole Miss 10-2. 10-3 now after the loss of the Sugar Bowl. Matt Corral and the Rebels won 10 regular season games for the first time in program history this season under direction of Lane Kiffin, who had a shot in his Ole Miss with a New Year's 6 win against Baylor. If you're an Ole Miss fan, it doesn't get much better than this in Oxford, unless Kiffin get this game in the next coming years. They gave the Rebels an A. With the loss to Baylor, I would give Ole Miss B plus. Just because the loss to Baylor, unfortunately, it was Ole Miss's fault. Matt Carroll got hurt. Baylor really shut down the Ole Miss offense. When Matt Carroll went down, their offense went down. So their defense done to it, but a B plus grade is still ahead of schedule for Lane Kiffin's team, who went 10-3 this year. And now we're going to the two national champions contenders. The new reigning defending national champion, the Georgia Bulldogs, finished at 14-1. They are his team grade. Here's what 7 said about the Dogs. Georgia is expecting an A minus report card with a chance to get an A plus and win 2 more wins in the national championship. There's a flip side of the coin. Should Michigan lose to Georgia? Should Georgia lose to Michigan, currently starting with a B and a C that is short of numerous goals. Georgia dominated the regular season with the nation's top defense. More embarrassed by Alabama and Atlanta as a Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young called up an NFL prospect loaded unit. Can the Dogs flush that low loss and take home the title? Yes, they can. Yes, they will. Georgia knocked off Alabama 3-18 to win their program's first national championship in over 40 years. Congratulations to Kirby Smart. And with that, I'm giving the Dogs an A+. Just they said in the text that if Georgia could somehow win the next 2 games, they get A+. When my national champion, and you beat Michigan, you get an A+ in my books. Congratulations to Georgia. And Nick Saban fell short of his 8th champion. The Crimson Tide finished the season 13-12, with 13-2. My apologies. In my books, they still get an A grade despite the game. Both losses came against tough SEC teams in A&M and Georgia. Georgia's got out of what happened to this championship game. The Bama will be back next year. Bryce Young will come back for a sophomore season. And it was tough. Nick Saban walk off the field without the college football trophy. It's kind of sad. It's a sad sight to see Nick Saban walk off the field. But it's jubilation for me to see somebody beside Nick Saban walk off the field with the college football trophy. And the other night, it was Kirby Smart. Much deserving. So that's all the schools we have on this list. Tomorrow, sometime this weekend, we're going to do the ACC and how disappointing they was, and can Clemson rebound after a huge win in their season. They knock off Iowa State, the Cheese Bowl to finish with 10 wins. At his 11th consecutive 10-win season in the Dabo Sweetie. So hopefully they can build on something with that. We're going to talk about the ACC next, later on this weekend. So thank you for those who watching. I'm exhausted. I'm trying to stay awake in this video. I had to get to work in the morning. Thank you for those who watched the video tonight. Like and subscribe. Your thoughts about this list and what you think. Your grade, how you grade your favorite team in the SEC. And I want to thank y'all for watching. It's 12 o'clock in the morning. I got to get ready for this prayer line. So thank you. God bless.